Hello and welcome back to Hindustan Astrology. I'm Katya. In this video, we are going to discuss the month of June for 2023 Vedic Sidereal Forecast. Now, this month will be very passionate and possibly explosive. So we have the big Rahu-Jupiter conjunction at 9 degrees of Aries. And this could be very good for the economy, but it also could bring some personal problems. Then we have our first full moon, which is in Jyeshtha Nakshatra. And then we have, while Mars is still debilitated in the sign of Cancer, Mars will be conjunct Venus as she goes into Cancer. And then, of course, we have Saturn going retrograde, which, happens every year. But this time he is going to stay in the sign of Aquarius and not go back to Capricorn. And then at the end of the month, we have Neptune is going retrograde in Pisces. So as Venus exits Cancer, she will be Gandanta. And this should make a very passionate month. Lots of new opportunities, but just be careful of your surroundings and accidents and things like that. And it should be pretty positive. So let's talk about it. Okay, you guys, so I created a little presentation for you so we can so be a little bit more clean rather than just looking at my document. So here we go. June 1st at 9 p.m. EST is the big Rahu-Jupiter conjunction at 9 degrees of Aries, Ashwini Nakshatra. Now, what does this mean? First, let's talk about who Jupiter is and who Rahu is. Jupiter is guru. He expands every planet that when he conjuncts them. Jupiter indicates the spouse in a woman's chart. Jupiter represents, happiness, new opportunities. And as he likes to expand, expanding waistlines as well. But Jupiter is the great benefic. And so, he really can't do much wrong when he is conjunct a planet except for Rahu and Ketu, in my opinion. And Rahu is a shadow point. He's, smoke and mirrors. But he is incredibly intense, and in a personal birth chart, Rahu is our destiny. He is the open mouth that consumes and consumes and doesn't know when to stop because he doesn't have a stomach. He's just the head of the serpent, whereas Ketu is just the body. So materialism is associated with Rahu. And Jupiter is the planet of abundance, and so, we may have issues with our savings, anything that we've invested in. Make sure you're getting the correct information. And as Jupiter is a guru, beware of false teachers, especially false teachings during this time. But I have a feeling that the economy will improve. Right now, it's not doing so great. Crypto was down a little bit. So I'm hoping that this conjunction will kind of bump things up a little bit. Maybe, maybe not. But personally, we can definitely, say things that maybe we wish we hadn't. Kind of explode, Jupiter's expanding and Rahu's the head and the mouth, and just be careful of what you're saying at this time, is my best advice. June 3rd at 11:43 p.m. EST, we have our full moon at 19 degrees of Scorpio, Jyeshtha Nakshatra. Now, Jastra is the eldest one. It is associated with authority because it's Indra, who is the chief of the gods, it's the deity. But the fixed star is Antares, which means like Mars. And so this planet is red in the night sky to, we can see it with our naked eye. And sometimes people confuse it with Mars if they don't, know their constellations. But when the whole George Floyd thing exploded, we had our lunar eclipse in Jastra. So usually there's something about the authorities with even the military. And right now, we've got this crazy government shutdown that's looming because they can't figure their budget out. That's actually a very Rahu Jupiter. But by the time we get, 2 days later for the full moon, you better believe there's going to be some drama in DC. And then on a personal level, this is the Alakshmi point. This is as the eldest star, as it's called. The opposite one is Rohini. And Rohini was the favorite wife of Chandra. Out of his 27 wives, which represent the nakshatras, the moon is actually exalted in Kritika at 3 degrees of Taurus, but moon loves to be in Rohini. So it's a great time to get married. But the point is that is the Lakshmi point. And so Alakshmi is the opposite. And as the eldest, I guess the eldest wife, she got very jealous and rallied the other wives to tattle on Chandra for spending too much time with Rohini. So the point is that there are issues with betrayal, abandonment, and especially having Venus and Mars together for this full moon, and Mars is debilitated. Now, Venus loves to be in Cancer because Venus has Digbala, or directional strength, in the 4th house, which is the Cancer house. And so when Venus is in Cancer, she's very happy, loves to take care of her home and beautify her home, etc. But with Mars debilitated there, it could produce, some tensions with romance. And seeing that this full moon's in Jastra just makes me think that a lot of issues of abandonment will come up for a lot of people. So just be aware of that, and just know that it's going on for everybody, okay? And then what else? So Scorpio is ruled by Mars. And Mars is debilitated in Cancer. So we have, which is ruled by the moon. And so we have what's called a Parivartana yoga between the moon in a Mars ruled sign and Mars in the moon ruled sign. Okay. So that makes the intensity even better. Now, this actually is really good for real estate. So this is why I'm hoping that the Rahu Jupiter conjunction is going to improve the economy, improve real estate. So yeah, but again, just be careful of anger, Moon is very emotional. Mars is very passionate and can be angry. And so we just have to, stay out of people's way if they seem to be, getting triggered. Okay. Now, I always do this for or from DC because I'm in the United States. That's my capital. So the ascendant, as you can see over here, is actually in Capricorn. And so this puts the full moon in the 11th house. Now, the 11th house is large communities. It is great gains, like all that, the big check you get all at once rather than a lot of small checks. The 11th house, is the eldest sibling. And isn't it interesting that we have the eldest star, the moon in Jastia, in the 11th house? So definitely, communities in the United States will be affected by this. And I know that there's been, more drama surrounding the police. And so, this will probably pan out at this time. And then, of course, the drama in DC over the budget. Those two things in mundane astrology. But on a personal level, 11th house is friends, right? And, if you feel like people are ignoring you or, not being nice or whatever, this is definitely going to be an issue where, especially if you have your moon, your sun, or your ascendant in Jastia, just feeling like you're finding out why, you didn't get invited to that party or whatever. I mean, just issues with your friends, and let's see, what else can we talk about here? Well, Saturn on the 17th will go retrograde, so he's slowing down. He has been slowing down. I've been feeling it. But he is slowing down. You'll definitely feel it on this full moon. I personally have found that in that window of time when Saturn goes retrograde for about 10 days to 2 weeks beforehand, because he rules time, like all of my machines that rule time, my watch, my computer, my phone, whatever, clocks, they go wonky, it's very odd. It almost feels like a Mercury retrograde, but it's not. It's Saturn. But there's a heaviness and a weight on our shoulders when he is stationing to go retrograde. And right now he's in Aquarius, in Shatabishak, which is the 100 healers. And I finally figured out the other day after I was talking to my distant cousin, that, it rules, or rather, it cures hard to cure diseases, is what Shatabishak does, and it is the sign of the 100 healers. And I finally figured out why they call it that. It's because it takes 100 doctors at least to get that diagnosis for your rare disease. It really is true. And so this is, a time when a lot of new advancements in medicine are coming out, new advancements in technology like AI. That's all been hot topics ever since Saturn went into Aquarius. So we will definitely, when he goes retrograde, a lot of those issues we will go back over, okay? And we may even discover some things we missed the first time. But we'll definitely hear more about, especially the jab, as they call it. Information about that will come out. And it will just be, a great advancement, even during retrograde. Because when a retrograde planet, when you look at it in the sky, it's brighter. So a retrograde can actually be stronger. And it brings out those qualities of the planet even more. And Saturn rules disease. And so I think it's a very exciting time, especially with DNA analysis, medical studies, things like that. And so that we're going to be feeling as we come into the day he actually goes retrograde, which is the 17th. So June 7th, at 10:20 a.m. EST, Mercury enters Taurus. And Mercury in Taurus, traditionally we say, Mercury likes to be, well, his best sign is Virgo, which is an earth sign. And Taurus is an earth sign, but sometimes Taurus, especially if it's retrograde in a birth chart, can indicate somebody who has a hard time communicating, the toddler that you have to take, to the therapy lessons to get them talking. That can be Mercury and Taurus. But as adults, I think it's it grounds our speech, it grounds our mind, it helps us to be better listeners. And, you know, when you are, your speech is racing, and you can't get enough words in, that's more a Mercury in Aries, especially in Ashwini, which can cause stuttering and a disjointedness between the mind and the body, But in Taurus, we are able to communicate. And especially, they say that, listening is a dying art. A lot of people just are trying to think of what they want to say next and not actually listen to what the person has to say. So this should be good for that. Especially lately, I feel like things are speeding up all around us. Then we have June 15th at 8:47 a.m. EST. We have the sun entering Gemini. Yay! Happy birthday, Geminis. And if you're wondering, remember, this is not Western astrology. For us, the sun changes signs around the 14th or 15th of the month. In another 100 years, it will be different. Another 1,000 years, it goes backwards. So Western astrology, the sign changing is always fixed because it represents the seasons. So if you use your Google Sky Map or your Stellarium app and you're looking at the night sky, and if you look at the astronomical position of where the sun is, it will be entering Gemini on that day. And, Gemini people are so friendly and adventurous and fun-loving. And so it's, it's a great, I love Gemini people. And then on the 17th at 1:28 p.m. EST, we have our Saturn going retrograde, 13 degrees Aquarius, Shatabishak. So I already talked about, right, what Shatabishak is, but Saturn will actually be going back into Dhanishta, which is the previous nakshatra, and staying in Aquarius, though, because that one straddles both Capricorn and Aquarius. And Dhanishta is the star of symphonies. This will be great for music. Actually be really good for travel because Dhanishta people can get a little depressed, especially on the Capricorn side, though. But traveling is really good for them. And it's the wealthy star. Well, it's one of the stars indicating wealth, rather. And so I feel like that will be good for the economy as well. But then he's not going to be in Dhanishta very long, and then he's going to go eventually back into Shatabishak. And then we have our new moon of this month, which is June 18th at 12:38 a.m. EST at 2 degrees of Gemini, Mrigashira. This is the searching star. These people, are always chasing after something, right? Whether it's the antique collector who, goes to shops looking for that one silver spoon or pair of chairs that they've been looking for, right? Always searching for something. Definitely collectors, definitely shopaholics. But it is associated with Prajapati having to shoot down, Shiva having to shoot down Prajapati with an arrow because he was chasing his favorite daughter, which is a little gross, but that is the myth. And so it can indicate those issues of S and SA issues. And so, especially when we are having the Venus-Mars conjunction still together, on this new moon, those issues definitely can come up, especially they are 12 places behind Venus and Mars, and so that indicates secrets. So, there might be some childhood healing that goes on, hopefully. And, mental health issues also are shattabishak because they are hard to cure diseases. And so having Saturn retrograde here definitely can bring up hidden memories, that come out in a dream or come out in therapy. That's definitely a possibility. But having it, the new moon, that's a positive light. That means that you're able to heal from whatever's troubling you. Now, for DC, the ascendant actually is Aquarius, and Saturn is within 4 degrees of the ascendant. So that's definitely some heaviness, Um, and Pluto retrograde right behind, again, secrets, dark secrets coming out. For Monday in astrology, this is happening in the 5th house for DC, so that means the emphasis will be upon all 5th house matters, which are creativity, short-term love affairs, which, it just means not a committed partnership. 5th house is children. 5th house is Purva Punya, or past life good credit. So if you've done something good in your past life, it'll show up in your 5th house. But it's children. And I feel like there's going to be a big emphasis upon children and children's rights. Especially, we've got, here in the US, this heated discussion about what can be taught in school, right? Concerning reproduction and how things are worded. And again, Mrgashira, is the star of chasing, and definitely those SA issues are going to come up with protecting children. And I hope so. I mean, there's a lot of heated discussion about public schools and what should be taught at what age. And that's going to be a big focal point for this new moon. We could see some kind of law, get turned around. Gemini is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is in Taurus. So yeah, there's going to be some serious discussion, I feel, about those issues. What else can I say? Let's see. Yeah, I think that covers it for the new moon. Let's go see what we have next. Then June 24th at 3:18 a.m. EST, we have Mercury entering Gemini. Now, Mercury rules Gemini, although he does best in Virgo. Gemini is, great for our speech, great for thinking, but there can be some anxiety here. So, try to ground yourself. Again, Gemini is very flighty, and so we have to be careful that our mind doesn't get unfocused. And then finally on June 30th at 4:47 p.m. EST, we have Mars leaving his sign of debilitation and entering Leo. Now, this also is a Gandanta zone. I forgot to put that in here. So Mars will be Gandanta from 26.4 degrees of Sidereal Cancer until 3.2 degrees of Sidereal Leo. And this is for every water to fire transition in the zodiac. So what is Gandanta? Let's talk about that for a minute. Gand is a knot, and Anta is the end. So it is a karmic knot that is placed at the end of a cycle and represents issues that we need to unravel before we go on to the next sign. And it makes us feel, especially on the water side, it makes us feel like we are suffocating, we are drowning in emotion. And so when Mars is debilitated, There can be anger, there can be lashing out. So just try again to center yourself, ground yourself. Don't allow other people to trigger you, especially it's probably around June 26th until I'm thinking August 2nd, 3rd, something like that. That'll be the window where Mars is Gandanta. So that is, it'll be hot. It's going to be a hot summer. I think it's going to start soon. Probably during this Gandanta zone, it's going to start getting really hot. And, Mars is the soldier and represents firearms. So we've had a lot of discussion about that recently, in the news. And I feel like having Mars go over this zone could trigger people to not use their firearms the way that they're supposed to. So there's that. And then to wrap up the whole month, we have June 30th at 5:07 p.m. EST. Neptune goes retrograde at 3 degrees of Pisces, Uttara Bhadrapada. Now, some people don't even recognize the outer planets, as we call them, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, when they go retrograde. But I notice they definitely, especially Neptune, seems to, I feel it more. I don't know. So what is Neptune? Neptune is the planet of illusion. It's the planet of music. It's a higher octave of Venus. And Neptune, because it's illusion, represents things that you can't quite get your hands on, something nebulous. And so what is that? Lies, deceit, scandals. Those things kind of amp up during this time. So if you have significant planets in your chart or your ascendant at 3 degrees of Pisces, then you're going to feel it more. And so, Pluto's retrograde right now, and also Uranus. So having all three of the outer planets in the retrograde zone is really going to make, especially, generations of people, this affects many people at once, right? Because there's like because it moves so slow around the sun, there's a whole generation of people that have Neptune in the same sign, right? So if your Neptune lines up with this, you're also going to feel it, And so, yeah, we'll definitely find out more for United States chart. This is going to be in the 4th house of the homeland. And so that is significant because, politics is just getting crazy these days. And we're definitely going to find out about some scandals having to do with, specifically our country, being involved in something. So yeah, that's pretty much it. There we go. Okay, so that's it. And if you guys have any questions, you can always send me a message through my website, which is hindustanastrology.com. And, check out the consultations that I offer. I have a variety of things. I don't just do Vedic astrology, but I also do tarot readings and Reiki. I can do distance Reiki, so it's not just, you have to be here. And then, of course, I have my shop with all of my products. I have perfumes and sprays and whipped body butter and lip balm and bath bombs. I actually need to make some bath bombs. That's what I'm going to do when I come back from vacation. And then, of course, I have my new book, which has all my recipes to make this stuff and information about astrological aromatherapy. And I go into discussion at length about the Navagraha, which are the traditional 9 planets of Vedic astrology, and what plant families they line up with. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, go on over to Amazon, and it's called Uma's Upayas, And I'll put it down here on the bottom of the screen. And yeah, I hope to see you in a reading sometime. Thanks. Bye.